Well, greetings. Thank you for joining me here. My name is Savannah, if you didn't already know that, and I'll be taking you through the next 12 months of Conjure. Now, this is traditional Conjure, and we'll be going through what is Conjure this month. And you'll be learning what I actually literally do to practice witchcraft and hoodoo together. And this is why I've called this course Hoodoo Witchcraft. And during this month, you'll understand what Conjure or what hoodoo looked like when it came from Africa, how it's evolved along the way, how it's fused with lots of other traditions, and then what we really do today. It is such a fusion with witchcraft. I've called it Hoodoo Witchcraft. And you may know of me as a spellcaster that I am. I want to show you how you can introduce and improve your life by just adding a little bit of magic or a little bit of conjure to it. So I've restructured this course over the years, and the way I'm going to run through the next 12 months with you is, I think, really beneficial, because you're going to get a great overview of absolutely everything. And then if you want to really drill down and become a conjure man or a conjure woman or a root doctor, that will be up to you to look at this overview and then decide which rabbit hole you want to jump down into based on your own personal interests, based on where spirit takes you. There's hoodoo is also, really spiritual, and you never know what part of that spiritual element will capture your heart and really make you feel like, yeah, like this is where I'm meant to be. And maybe that is more of the, for example, going back to the lower, you really identify with some of the lowers and the African, more traditional style of hoodoo or more tribal practices. Or maybe you really like bringing the saints or the deity into your life. Maybe using the Bible and the Psalms really resonates with you and helps you keep with perhaps your religious practices in your everyday life. Or perhaps when you're getting into it, because, for example, hoodoo has mixed a lot in America, in North America, with the Indian traditions. When the people from Africa came into America and they had to leave a lot of their old traditions, they didn't have all their herbs and their traditional, what am I talking about? Their traditional tools. They had to learn different ways to use their environment. And the Indians were the people that actually were there to help them in many ways use herbs and roots in the natural environment to continue on with their medicines. So maybe there's an aspect of that you want to really explore, shamanism and so forth. That is all still conjure. It's just really the spiritual element and how that affects you and where you want to go after this. All I will say is that I want you to work through or dedicate at least 3 to 4 hours a week on this. And by doing that, you're really going to build on your not only experience, but your confidence as well. And so long as you have a general understanding for now, then you'll be able to go back after you finish this year and really tighten up those areas that maybe we jumped over too fast, or that really touched, moved, and inspired you. Okay, so rather than getting stuck on what is right, what is wrong, reading, and I'll encourage you and I'll share with you what books and so forth I think would be beneficial to you. You will hear other practitioners tell you to do something a different way. And of course, I'm not saying they're wrong, but the way I do it is so you can get a good working understanding of what to do. And then based on the spiritual practice you follow, you'll go into that a different way later on. You have to remember that conjure is folk magic. There is no right or wrong way to do conjure, because when it came over from Africa, even in Africa, it was tribal. And in the lessons, you're going to learn how that was taught back in the villages when it came over here, how it was practiced, and how it was passed along. So if you were living in Louisiana and doing conjure, it's going to be very different from how you were doing conjure in Georgia or how you're doing conjure in Texas, because they didn't have the internet back then. So you were taught by whoever taught you. It was passed along based on that region, based what was available, based what was influences. Does that sort of make sense? So don't get all caught up with what's right, and are these people that like to grandstand others and tell them what's right and you're wrong. It's not about that. Believe me, it's about spiritual connection. Every single culture around the world has their own way to connect to their ancestors, has their own way to connect to medicine, and their own way to get a magical result. And as long as you're getting that magical result, that's all that matters. Okay? So just try and dedicate 3 to 4 hours a week just to exploring what I have to say. And then, of course, you can do extra study and really start to build up your own confidence and knowledge in this area. So let's have a look what I want you to do in this first month. Now, if you're really excited, go through the entire month in 1 week. I suggest that you space out these learnings that I'm going to give you, so you've got a little bit of time to digest and process what I'm teaching you. So you have a little chance to think about it, maybe discuss it with a friend, or get on the group and talk about your feelings about this information. Give yourself the respect and the grace to change your opinion as you go along. So how you feel about conjure today may not be how you feel about conjure the next month or the month after that, or maybe in 5 years down the track. And what people are really good at is not giving themselves the space to grow. They're very good at judging people based on what they said in the past. And so you can grow at a really fast rate, I want you to forgive yourselves and forgive each other and respect other people's opinion, to allow everyone the space to grow and develop. So if you really thought something this week and now you've had a chance to read a little bit more and perhaps change your opinion, give yourself the grace to actually say, yeah, I feel different about it now, and here is why. I think that's a really important thing to start to put into your own lives in general, okay? So this month, let's go through what I want you to do this month. This month, I really want you to grab a journal. So I've got a couple of different journals. I've got one online, because what a blessing these days that we have different mediums to be able to store information and collate information. So I use OneNote, Microsoft OneNote. All the little different tabs and creating notebooks works really well for me. If you're not tech savvy, I'm not really either, but you can maybe just use a Word document to take some notes. But I'm a real scribbler, and I love having a journal that I can just scribble in and take some notes and diarize my thoughts as I go along. This is very, very important that you really start to get out your thoughts and your feelings as you're moving through the course, okay? That's number one. What else would I like you to do this first month? Yeah, that's the first month. Oh yes, I want you to begin to meditate if you haven't. So meditation isn't conjure, but I want you to think of it as moving more into shamanic ways, being a shaman, being able to sit there and clear your mind and really be able to just focus on, well, leave the world behind, at least for 5 minutes a day. Leave the world behind and just be one with your thoughts. Be one to clear your mind so that when you call out to spirit, you're not thinking about what you have to cook for dinner or picking up the kids or what you should be doing right now. This is your spiritual time. So really diarize right now or put in your calendar 5 to 10 minutes every day so you can just do a little bit of connection work. And as we go through this course, that might include that 5 minutes, might be 5 minutes on a Friday at your ancestral altar. Maybe that 5 minutes will be spent when you set up a little altar doing a spell. Maybe it's really connection to spirit there. So it's just a really good habit to get into right now. So that's what I want to share with you. Also, what we'll be going through this month, I've got written on my OneNote right now. The first month, I really want to get into telling the story behind the slaves, how they got from Africa into America. Now, I know if you're American, this is, oh my God, this again. But this is really huge. It's the story behind the pain of Conjure. And it's really important I don't want to dwell in that, right? Because we're not going to grow if we're sitting here and we're dwelling in it. But it's important to understand the story so you can respect the story and respect a lot of the pain that goes into the Conjure workings. It's also important to understand why they use the Bible verses in Conjure. I'm going to listen to what some of you guys say on the forums and so forth about this and see if you quite get it. We'll be going through some of the saints. I want to spend this first month really looking at a lot of the saints, the deity, the importance of your ancestors. So really have this spiritual month working through all of this so you get a really good understanding about how all of these things can fit in. And, maybe you decide that you want to work with the saints and not the lower. Or maybe you decide, the lower is the spiritual force that I want to be working with. Or maybe you say, look, I don't want to work with any of that. I just want to work with the universal source energy. So this is going to be the month for you to just get an understanding of all of this sort of stuff. Maybe look at a different, which lower or which saint you want to start to call to, for example, for your love work, for help, for protection, for money. So you're going to be taking some little notes along these lines this month. So before we get into the rest of the work, you have to, because it's a spiritual practice, we have to understand why we're calling out to the spirits, why we have the ancestral altar, why we use the Psalms or the Bible, why we don't use the Psalms or the Bible. You get what I mean? So this is a really important month and a lot of information to get through. So I've included a lot of videos that I quite like. There was a great documentary on the slaves, a 4-part documentary on the slaves in the South, how they got here, how they were treated, all of that type of thing. And then we're going to look at the saints. Then we're going to look at how you can set up your ancestral altar. This is really, really key too. And for some of you, it's going to bring up some really weird feelings, especially if you're abused as a kid and your mother or father died and they were a very destructive type of person. We're going to look and talk through this ancestral altar and actually what it means to respect your ancestors. Now, I'm here for you. I want to really I'll be here in the forum addressing your concerns at least once a week for this course, because I run a couple of courses. So for Hoodoo Witchcraft, I will be here on Thursdays to answer any of the questions that you have, okay? And I'll be going through the forum, but it's really important to support each other, to have a community where you can support each other and have, as I said, give yourself space to learn and grow and just share your ideas, okay? But welcome, welcome, welcome. Going forward, I just want to touch really, really quickly on how we're going to structure this. You'll already see it in the notes, but there's a method to my madness, okay? Next month, in month 2, we're going to focus a whole month on divination. The reason why is that if you don't focus on divination, if you don't learn how to connect to the spirits and read the answers, you're not going to know if your spell work is going to be successful, or if your spiritual work needs a little bit more oomph, or whatever that really is. You really need to learn a divination method. Some of you may have probably already know tarot, for example. Great. I want you to spend 1 week going through each method. So even if you know tarot, there's 100 other different decks that you could use, or maybe you could just share some of your knowledge on what you know, or how you can, knowledge that you can share with other people, how they can learn it faster or better, or maybe even different, what do I call, different layouts. So you can share some of your layouts and how you have success, because everyone has a different layout, and it's really about the result you receive versus a layout being, a spread, being right or wrong. Going into it, then the month after that, month 3, this is going to be a fun month too. We're going to look at the different herbs and roots and oils, getting more into the tools. Maybe you've already built up a little bit of a collection, but we'll be getting in there and doing some fun activities such as making your own oils. I think it's important that you know how to make your own oils, so you're not totally reliant on buying them, because you can use whatever you have in your environment to create a really strong and powerful oil or potion, which will work just as good as a shop bought one. Different curios, different personal concerns, so that'll all be in month 3. We'll go into skill building in month 4 and 5. That's everything from the Hoodoo altars, such as you're seeing here, where you're using them for work. That's different from your Ancestral altar. We'll go into all the typical Hoodoo type skills, from petitions and poppets to mojos, jars, laying tricks, and all of that sort of stuff. So each week we'll go into a different one of that. And then following from that, now when you have all the groundwork, all those skills, and you have the knowledge with the saints and so forth, and you're practicing your divination method, the following 6 months, each month we're going to look at a certain area of our life skill, our life area, that we're going to really look at in all different aspects. So love, create and love potions, love spells, love poppets, I love mojo, all of that type of thing. So you're well-rounded in each area. Okay. So if something happens, at least you have a one go-to type of solution for whatever that life problem is. So it's a good basis, okay? So I'm really excited about teaching it in this method versus some of the other ways that I have been teaching it, because I think it'll be really hands-on and practical. Okay. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm going to leave you with this great level of skill building. So enjoy month 1. I find history absolutely fascinating, and I'll look forward to your comments about this month's videos. Bye for now.